In this lecture module, we're going to be looking at the Phillips curve. Now, the Phillips curve is the foundation, theoretical foundation for Keynesian economic monetary policy interventions to reduce unemployment during the downward portion of the business cycle. However, Phillips originally developed this idea for a mining town, or a company town, a single employer mining town. And if there were labor strikes, then you would have to inject money in there in order to keep the economy alive. And that was a special case for a one company mining town. But it's been generalized for the economy, for the whole economy, or whatever the political body is that has the monopoly central bank power. So the way that the Phillips curve works is if you have a situation of unemployment, then the only way to reduce the unemployment is to use easy money, expansionary monetary policy, to reduce unemployment by creating inflation. So, right, so if you have unemployment, you use easy money to create inflation under Keynesian economics, which we talked about when we talked about monetary theory, the different views of money manipulation and the effects on the economy. But in the 1970s, you had both high unemployment and high inflation, and that was known as stagflation. And at that point in time, Keynesian economics was refuted, because under this Phillips curve idea, you're trading off inflation and unemployment. You can't have both. But you had both in the 1970s. So at that point, Keynesian economics was refuted. But it came back again with the 2007-2008 bailouts, which we explored when we looked at financial cronyism. The Republicans and Democrats using that crisis then to bail out their cronies. And then Keynesian economics came back then. And of course, it's back in a big way today during the coronavirus period. And when we talked about definitions of unemployment, we talked about how perhaps you could replace all of the interventionist monetary and fiscal policy with the basic income, but that's a little bit beyond our Phillips curve lecture here. So a professor at George Mason University, or he was at George Mason University, they made a series of Hayek versus Keynes rap videos talking about how Keynesian economics, the difference between Keynesian economics and Hayekian or free market economics, and about how Keynesian economics was refuted in the 70s, but then came back with never let a good crisis go to waste. It came back with 2007, 2008, and 2009 bailouts. And for more information on the business cycle, we have 2 Hardfire TV shows, The Problem with Macro and A Simple Explanation for the Business Cycle. Thank you. That completes this lecture module on the Phillips curve.